Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Dojo Live, connecting with experts like you. For me, Kim, it's been a while, but it feels good to be back. And like I said, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Kim Lantis, joining you from one of Nearsoft's offices in Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. Co-hosting with me is Carlos Ponce. Hello, from Mexico City.
Hi,
Hi,
Kim.
Carlos. How are you
Hello.
doing?
Pretty good. Pretty well, thanks.
Good. So today we're going to be talking about finding and creating joy in the small things. So how keeping it simple makes for a happier life and for a happier workplace. And sometimes it's something that's easier said than done, I think, finding joy in the small things. But today's guest is here to help show us how he has done it and how we could do that too. So please welcome co-founder and lead artist from Gaping Void, Hugh MacLeod. Hugh, hi. Welcome to Dojo Live.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Fine, thank you. So, Hugh, you have quite a story. I understand you're quite the world traveler, lived in a lot of places. But tell us more about yourself, Gaping Void, and of course, the joy of small things.
Yeah, well, I'm a cartoonist, I suppose, and I grew up in Scotland. I grew up in Edinburgh and the United States, and so I'm a bit of a transatlantic boy. I live in America now, and I started drawing cartoons in college, and then decided I wanted a job after that. So I moved into advertising. I gave up cartooning, went into advertising for a decade and a bit, and then segued into what I do now, which is making art for culture, for corporate clients. And the way I started doing that was kind of by accident, where when in the late '90s, I started doodling on the back of business cards. Here's a book of them. I just started drawing cartoons on the back of business cards.
Okay.
And then started posting them online, and they kind of built a following on that. And then after a while, realized I wanted to do something with the art that was to do with business, just because that's where that's where the grown-ups are. Whereas sitting in a bar all day doodling on the back of business cards was only so interesting for so long. And so my co-founder Jason Corman and I, we started making art for business. The idea being that if you're walking down the corridor of an office and there's some kind of message on the art subliminally that really resonates with you, that will affect the culture. That it could be art can be a very visceral way of shaping things inside an office building. In the same way, an architecture or interior design kind of informs the culture. Also, we had this idea that art's a great way to spread ideas inside an organization. For example, if you want something really, if you have an idea or a value that you really want to spread inside an organization, put it in a drawing, and then put that drawing in the men's room or the ladies' room of your office, and because everybody pees, everybody goes to the bathroom, so everybody will see it, and they'll see it while they're in the stall. So it'll be seen. And the idea will resonate. It won't be just another paragraph in another email that's ignored. It'll be, and basically we decided to try to turn that into a business where we notice that the cultures are this kind of most interesting part of a company, actually. Like one of our clients is Zappos, the shoe company, the American shoe company, and they're a company that gets a lot of press, a lot of favorable press. And you think about it, well, all they are is like a call center in Nevada and a warehouse full of shoes in Kentucky. A call center and a warehouse, and like, oh, well, they got a website as well. But on the outside, if you look at the base components, you know, they're not like Google that, you know, spends billions hiring the smartest people in the world. They're fairly, you know, they have a few smart people, but, you know, they hire a lot of people. A lot of their people, they work for them, make $12 an hour, $13 an hour. They're like blue collar, normal blue collar people. And yet they managed to build this incredible company of believers, of totally, and that's because Tony, the CEO, and his colleagues just said, hey, yeah, culture's everything. That's the only way we can win. That's the only way we can compete with these people. It's culture, because we're not Google. We can't build, you know, a bigger web. We can't take on Apple using, you know, we can't use, you know, we can't beat them in whatever, you know, we can't outspend them. We can't do, you know,
Right.
But what we can do is we have a great culture, and so Jason and I decided that what we wanted to do was to create art that would help companies with their culture.
Okay.
A good example is medicine. We do a lot of work in medicine because, you know, frankly, medicine could use all the help it could get. I mean, some of the hospitals.
Sorry.
No, have you ever been in a public hospital? It's like
Well, not in the United
all.
States, because they don't. Well, very few exist. But in Mexico,
Yeah,
yes,
but I mean,
there's.
but I mean,
public health
it's
system.
like, yeah, an American public health hospital. They can be quite. They can, or they can be, some of those places can be quite gray, to put it mildly. So I mean, we did this. You know, we started putting art around the walls that talk about, you know, like to dwell on kind of emotional issues with patients and doctors and stuff like that. We did this one piece of art we put by the weighing machine, the scale. It just said, hey, remember when all the old people were remember when all the people, do you remember when all the old and fat people were still older and fatter than you? I know. Yeah, exactly. And they laugh. And that's what happened was that little chuckle made people on average get on and off that scale 20% faster. You see? And in the end, we did this one study on where we put all our art, the before and after, when we put our art in a medical office, it got patients in and out the door 14% faster, which, you know, if you're seeing, you know, 50, 60, 100 people a day, that's actually not bad. And also, I did this cartoon in 2004, and it just said, the market for something to believe in is infinite.
The what? I'm sorry?
The market for something to believe in is infinite. In
Okay.
other words, we have an infinite need to believe in stuff. We want our lives to matter more than they are. No matter how much they matter already, we want them to matter even more. We want more reason to believe that this whole life thing is a complete waste of time. And we want people, and we want brands and products and experiences to make that easier to believe. And, you know, what we don't have enough of in our lives, we already have plenty of bottled water. We already have plenty of yoga mats. We already have plenty of gadgets in our house. What we don't have enough of is that we don't make enough difference to ourselves. We don't matter enough. We don't impact enough. And so if we can find products that help us do that, then we're on board. And jobs are the same way. It's not so much that, you know, when a company recruits you, they're going to pay you whatever it is, you know, X thousand a month, whatever, and that's good. But that's not everything we're looking for. You know, we're looking for the good game. We're looking for where we can make the most impact. We're looking for not just make the most impact, but make impact that actually matters to us, because we all have this kind of whole existential emotion, and that's what. And we want the companies we work for to help us articulate that. And that's another important aspect of culture is that kind of like getting your company to understand your existential need, and because they do, then you'll contribute more.
So as an artist, what is the process? Excuse me. What is the process that Gaping Void would follow? Like, So do you target companies that already have a well-established culture, and
No.
or do you target ones that don't and help them establish that, or how does it work?
Boy, we've worked with companies with amazing cultures. We've worked with companies that don't have amazing cultures. Usually, what we start with are people inside the company who want to make a difference on their own terms, and they want to bring, they want to use us to help them. So it starts off with an individual. It's really a individual thing. It starts off as an individual thing, and then hopefully we have buy-in. So like we do a lot of stuff with Microsoft. They're a great client of ours. They have an amazing culture. They're really, really smart and really, really big and really, really rich and really, really great on so many levels. So, we've done stuff with AT&T, another big company. And when you have these big companies, you have these. It's very easy to get lost in these big companies because there's a guy in sales in California talking to the guy in receivable, whatever, talking to the guy in engineering in Rhode Island, probably not. But what unites these people who've never met each other, and that to me is really interesting about the kind of. Napoleon once said, good morale is worth 50,000 men to the army, which and to me that's really interesting about what makes companies tick. I mean, what keeps them going, what makes them more competitive than the next company, what makes them and like I said, they're not all Apple, they're not all Facebook, they're not all these great elite companies that are full of crack troops. A lot of them are just full of people making $12 an hour, but they still have a job to do. And how do you keep these people motivated from very socioeconomic backgrounds and stuff? And we're always going to have a question: what does it all mean? What does it all mean? People want to be able to say what they do and make it sound meaningful. And
right. So, what are the keys that you have found in your experience working with huge companies such as Zappos or Apple?
Sorry. Are we having trouble?
The hospital
Kim,
down the street.
Kim, we lost you for about 4 seconds. Kim, can you repeat that, please?
Can you ask me a question again?
Yes, I certainly can. I was wondering, in all of your experience working with such a wide range of companies, from large companies such as Zappos or Microsoft or AT&T to nameless companies like the hospital down the street, what do you find are those motivational factors? What have you found that works for those companies, and how does your art reflect that?
I think my insight is when we think of ourselves as like really complex beings. How like you watch an episode of Girls or whatever, like, oh, we're so complex, everybody's having all that drama, right? Or you look at a show like Mad Men, where everybody's so complex the whole time, everything's so complicated. But actually, when you look at our emotional palette, we're actually pretty limited beings. We have like whatever it is, 6, 7, 8 main emotions turned up to various degrees of volume, but we respond to the same half dozen things. If that makes any sense. And we either respond to them strongly or weakly. It's not really, and yes, there's ambiguity, but the actual building blocks of the emotion are actually, to me, fairly limited, or not limited, but actually quite small, really. I think people want to love their work. I think people want to love their colleagues. I think people want to be able to bring their best self to work. I think people get frustrated when they can't. I think people are looking for reasons to believe. I think people,
consciously or subconsciously?
I think quite consciously. I think they're trying to turn up every day and make it not suck. Now, of course, some companies are so toxic that that's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But you know, it's and I think where the art can reflect that is when the art understand is it's when it's apparent that the art understands that position. In other words, I understand what it's like. I understand what it's. You see a lot of motivational art. You look at a lot of motivational art, you see that, you know, it says teamwork, success, you know, soar like eagles, climb the highest mountain.
The kitty that's hanging there.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's all great, but that's like a tiny, tiny bit of the entire emotion of work of the workspace of the workplace. It's a tiny bit. It's, you know, it's a yes, you have your moments of triumph, but the moments of triumph last 30 seconds. What you have, you know, the actual reality is of working in the company, being part of a team is actually a bit more measured, a bit more, you know, a bit more mundane and a bit more, you know, and there's a lot of nuance in it. And there's lots of different ideas coming in and at you every day. And to me, I want to do motivational art that kind of understands that. I did one cartoon for Rackspace, which I really like.
Rackspace, huh?
Rackspace, okay. You know, they're the big cloud service company.
Yes, I know.
And what they like are people who are really gung ho. They don't want just people. They don't want lifers, you know, turning up. And, you know, they want people really gung ho. And so I did this cartoon, this poster for them. It just said, if you're here just for the paycheck, don't expect to last very long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And of course, the people who love that cartoon were the ones who weren't there for the paycheck. The people who hated that cartoon were the people who were there just for the paycheck. And they go tell their boss how much they hate that cartoon. So the boss knew that guy was just there for the paycheck.
All right.
So it's a way of flushing people out. I don't know. I mean,
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, to me, I mean, you know, us three, everybody in the audience, we're all adults, okay? We all have to get up in the morning and go to these offices at daytime and deal with all these people we work with every day, and you know, all their nonsense and all their ups and downs. And that's a big part of our lives. And so, what we try to do at Gaping Void is to understand that complexity and make art out of it that kind of nudges people and I think if you can even nudge, you know, culture is such a key part of the culture is such a key part of a company that even if you just change it even a little bit, you can make a huge amount of difference.
I agree.
And so even, you know, a relatively, you know, small company can make a big difference. You know, we're not, you know, we're not General Motors. Gaping Void is not General Motors. You know, and yet we feel like we can actually do meaningful work inside a large corporation for, and that's great because a lot of the work in the world is actually pretty meaningless. But you can make it meaningful, then you're creating a lot of value right there. So, does that help?
Yeah, it does. So, how long Gaping Void was established in which year?
2008, I think 2008, 2009, around then.
Okay, so you're coming up on 10 years. I really liked your statistic when you were going back to the scale at the hospital, like that positive impact. Okay, I think 14% increase in efficiency or something of that sort. Mm-hmm. Which at a hospital is a really big deal. The last thing people want to do at a hospital is spend as much time there as they need to. It's like you want to get in, get out, and feel like you've been served. So, do you have any other like really cool success stories?
Yes, we did one for Microsoft like a decade ago. This is one of my first big projects. This is like where I was living in London at the time, and I started hanging out with a a bunch of Microsofties at these geek dinners. And they all told me the same thing. They all said, well, we can work somewhere else for a lot more money and get a lot less grief. But we choose to work at Microsoft because we get to play with the really big toys. we can really impact people's lives. We can really change the world. And you got to remember, this is back. Steve Ballmer was still running the place. It was still a very kind of alpha male sales brand. Very. It was during the just after the Microsoft Vista stuff. The pre turnaround where the Microsoft brand was pretty toxic at the time. But I thought these guys are really smart. They're really nice, and they want to work for. They want to work for Microsoft. That's kind of interesting to me. So I did this cartoon called The Blue Monster that had this kind of like little screaming guy, little blue monster. It just said, Microsoft, change the world or go home. And that became, and what we did was we made posters of that. And then they became like a really coveted image inside Microsoft because people wanted to, send a message internally that, yeah, we're here to make a difference. We're not just here to sell more stuff. Meet our quota for the, or the quarter, but we're here to, to rock the world. And that kind of captured the, the emotion of Microsoft, I think.
Do you think that had played a role in its transition from moving away from being a toxic workplace?
Well, I don't know if it was toxic to work there so much as the press was being toxic towards it. That's but I think I think it's a precursor for that thing to come. I think that it was a kind of an indicator where the next bit of mojo is coming from, because it wasn't going to you can only beat your mule so hard before you have to find new mules. I don't know. I think it's kind of. I think Microsoft spent, after Bill Gates stepped down as CEO, they spent about a decade kind of. Well, also the market changed as well. So they evolved from a desktop company to a cloud company, and that that doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff that Satya Nadella is getting credit for has actually begun while Steve Ballmer was still CEO, but they don't talk about that so much. But I think Satya was very in simpatico with the idea that people are at Microsoft because they want to make a difference, not just because they want to make more money. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we all want that to a certain extent, but I think we overlook the existential drivers in our life at our peril. I think if everything is if everything is 100% transactional, then we all end up a bunch of bloody sociopaths, and nothing meaningful gets done. We're all just a bunch of like Donald Trump minions, who's just like running around trying to,
Kim, Hugh, I'd like to, sorry to interrupt, but I just need to remind the audience that if you have any questions for Hugh, either now while we're broadcasting, or if you're watching this at a later time, it's right here. Send it on Twitter on DojoLIVE. It's very simple. Just go to Twitter, send us your questions for Hugh, and we'll be more than happy to pass them along to Hugh, and he'll be able to respond. Now, with that being said, I have a question, but yes, Hugh, you were going to say something?
I'm just checking my Twitter just to see what people. I'm just checking the.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
right. So,
I'm listening.
Sorry.
I'm listening.
Okay, cool. I have a question, and this is something that jumped into my mind. You mentioned that of course you have been involved and worked and dealing with people that, as you mentioned, and I'm quoting you here, that you want to play with the big toys, so to speak. We're talking about huge companies like Microsoft, even Zappos. These are very, very large companies, large scope companies. So it takes me back to today's topic, the joy of small things. So, how can you instill the mindset of just be content with the small things in a setting in which pursuing the big things is what really permeates the atmosphere at a company? How do you handle that, or how do people feel when you approach them with this set of ideas, so to speak?
Okay. Well, I think the problem isn't size. The problem, I think, is complexity.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mission statement is 50 pages long, you don't really have a mission statement. You have a list.
Mm-hmm.
Where if your mission statement is something very simple, like we want to make the best ice cream in the world, that's easy. You can just say, okay, is this ice cream? Yes. Is it better than everybody else's? Yes. Good. Fine. We're on track. But if your list is just like a list of positive sounding platitudes that come out of whatever HR or Harvard Business Review, or just the usual list of stuff that then that's not really. They say you have more than three priorities. You don't actually have priorities,
Yeah, right.
So you can be big, but you're when I read these kind of shareholder values, shareholder mission statements that say to deliver shareholder value, delivering excellence, they're lying on both counts. They don't mean it, because if they really meant it, they just say we want to make the best ice cream there is, because that's what an honest person says. We want to make the best stuff in the world and get rich doing it. Okay, fine. I can understand that. Is when they have a whole list of these kind of like platitudes they learned in business school. They're not really, to me, they're not really sincere. So you can be you can have a simple goal and be huge. I mean, look at Churchill. He wanted to beat Hitler. Easy.
Right.
Beat Hitler. 2 words.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It wasn't rocket science. It wasn't like. So I don't think there is a conflict between size of your company and the simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and also thank you, Hugh. And also, there's something that that pulled my attention is one of your quotes. Well, I'm quoting you today also, and this is something that you said, and it's the market for something to believe in is infinite.
Correct.
So I could not help but just pay attention to this quote.
Is that your quote? Did you come up with that, or is that someone else's? I'm sorry.
That's my quote.
Nice.
It was
Cool.
Well, okay. I remember when I wrote that. I was still in the advertising business. I was kind of thinking, there's a lot of, this is like in 2004, so there's like a lot of kind of the world is changing, kind of a lot of kind of brave new world kind of juju happening out there because of the internet. The internet and technology was enabling a lot of new ideas to come to light very quickly, and so the kind of the 20th century had just ended. So there's a feeling of new beginnings, I suppose. And I was just kind of thinking, why are I was working in an advertising agency, and I was going, well, what are people really buying? Because we all know we all have enough stuff, really. I mean, we all have enough bottled water. I don't need another car. I don't need another bookshelf. I don't need another bathroom. I don't need more toys, really. Nothing huge. And so what do we really need? Why do we still go back to the well all the time? Why are we always striving to acquire more stuff, even though we know we don't need more stuff? And it's because we're trying to use stuff in order for us to find more meaning indirectly. So, and that was the insight. That was the insight, and I thought that when advertising was at its most powerful was when that happened, a good example being Apple. Apple in the 80s, you know, or you know, here's the crazy one. Advertising campaign from 20 years ago, just absolutely, you know, crammed full of meaning. You know, like kind of a spiritual meaning. Don't know if Apple still has that idea anymore. I mean,
which one was that? I'm sorry.
Here's the crazy ones. You know, the crazy ones who want to change the world. They use
right.
Apple. You know, and that's kind of what it meant to me. And I thought, you know, if you can create communication that makes meaning, you know, that kind of creates meaningful experiences, then you're going to win, because that's the one thing that everybody in the Western world does not have enough of, because they have too much of the other stuff. So, you know, if yes, we all want to save money. Yes, we all want, you know, faster cars, but do we, you know, but I think we all want to. I think we all want to have lives that matter. We all want to make a difference, or at least find. We all want our lives to be less existentially.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Kim. Real quick.
All right.
Have you found, Hugh, that this unique viewpoint on focusing on the small things and leading a happier life, have you found that there are certain types of companies that are more receptive than others, specifically in the technology world?
Oh, yeah, I suppose. I mean, I think in the technology world, well, the technology world is a vast world. I mean, it's a you know, it's, what percentage of the economy is it? Like 10%, 20%? I mean, it's a pretty vast universe. I think.
Or let's say types of companies, for example, or company profile, so to speak. For example, let's take two. I'll make it simple. You have two companies with that both are in the technology world, but they have very unique company cultures. For example, you have Microsoft, and then you have Zappos. You know, those two are like wire and oil, or at least black and white. They're very different. If I were to ask you, Hugh, where did you find that these types of ideas are more welcome, either Microsoft or Zappos, for example?
Oh boy, well, you're talking about client of mine, so I don't really want to talk. I don't want to reveal too much.
No, that's fine. Whatever, you know, just an example from the top of my head. Okay, it could be anything.
I'm trying to think. It's like, well, they both have very strong cultures, and they both understand the importance of culture. So it's not like they're not the problem. You know, they already get it, as it were.
Okay.
In terms of tech companies, I mean, most of the people who hire us anyways already get it. So it's not like we have to go in there and sell the idea that culture is important. They already understand it, and they already, you know, they've already, you know, bought into the idea, and they just want us to help them. So it's not we're not converting anybody.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
So what's that discovery look like then? So like they've already bought it. Culture's important. In some ways, they may have their culture defined. It's something that we at Nearsoft, we have, you know, our 5 values. We know what we're looking for. We have a persona profile to help with recruiting and hiring, like what it's like to work with us and what a person needs to be like in order to succeed in this environment. Being a flat organization, it's not always the easiest environment to work in. So we have that defined. But what's your discovery as far as an artist goes? Like when you're hired, you have this job, you walk in. Are you told the culture? You observe the culture?
Yeah, well, and we do focus groups internally. That's a main thing. And the other thing is, we ask people what your culture is, right? We have ways of getting answers out of them. We have ways, but when we look at the official version of what their culture is and what it means, the first thing I want to do is say, okay, are these is this actually true or is this bullshit? Are they just giving us some nice sounding words? Because, I mean, what's the real culture here? Because that's always interesting to me. What matters to these people? And we'll sit down and we'll. If you spend enough time with the company, people, and you interview enough people, they start revealing stuff even if they don't want to. They start saying, you know, well, you can kind of tell. Is this the kind of place where if you do make a mistake, your manager will get your back or not? Just something similar like that. Is it the kind of company where the people who work together hang out together? Is this the kind of place where the people, yes, they hang out together, and it's actually kind of creepy because these people should get their own lives. Damn it, you know. I mean, you know, you can go both ways. You know, so you're always asking yourself, well, actually, what is real here? I mean, what matters here? What was, you know, where does the bullshit end and the reality begin? And where's the real values here? I mean, what do people actually value here? And are they happy? Happiness is a real indicator of, you know.
So have you ever
happiness
experienced like that eye-opening moment with CEOs or whoever it is that hired you on? They've bought into culture. They believe that their culture is successful, and you discover that it really isn't.
I think no. Actually, you know what? I think CEOs are actually pretty wise most of the time about the pros and cons of their own culture. They're not. You don't get to be CEO by being completely out of touch. It's more of a, well, what do we do with this information?
So is your art based more on the culture as it is, or culture where they want it to be?
Excuse me?
Do you base your art and like what you do off of the culture as it currently is, or the culture, the desired culture where they want their culture to be, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I mean, I think you can't just go. You can't just like say, oh, well, I want the culture to be over here like this, and kind of create this mythical Easter Bunny culture over here. You know, I want to be I want everybody to be like. I want it to be like Facebook, only smarter. You know, it's like, okay, good luck to that. You know, yeah, great. You know, I mean, you're kind of like, well, who are these people? You know, what you have to ask yourself. Well, okay, here's the lump of clay I'm working with. What can I do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's just a. You know, to me, it's just interesting to get behind, to go inside the company and just kind of see what's going on and see where the, you know, see the pros and the cons. I mean, some, you know, some clients are, you know, some companies will go inside. I mean, generally we have pretty nice clients, I gotta say, but, you know, some clients are, you know, some companies you're going to work for are just, you know, have issues. And there's no way you're going to be able to fix their culture, you know, or the issues are so deep rooted, you know, that you're going to have to either get rid of the CEO or get rid of the management. I mean, Uber's having terrible culture, having a terrible time with their culture right now because, you know, allegedly because the upper management behaves so appallingly. I don't know how true that is or not. I mean, I find the business journalists will write anything to get published, to get hits. So yeah. I don't know these people. So
Hugh, I have something here, and this is because we're approaching the final segment, the final minutes of today's chat. And one of the things that I'd like to ask you would be, think in terms of a company, a mid-sized company, you know, could be any company in the world that has a unique culture. And when I say unique, I mean, you know, as Kim says, as like Nearsoft, for example, is a flat organization, and it's etc. So in our case, It's even in our mission statement. It's one of the bullet points in our mission statement, which is to become a source of happiness for its employees. It's even in the mission statement.
Okay.
I am assuming that it makes sense to what you're saying today here because we're focusing on leading a simpler and happier life.
Mhm.
Okay, so with that in mind, if I ask you, um, what would be like 2 or 3 major key points or bullet points that you would recommend or share with our audience today, what would these bullet points be in terms of how to accomplish just this, how to lead a simpler and a happier life at the workplace specifically, in
Okay.
general? What would it be?
Fewer moving parts, probably. And I don't mean fewer like, you know, don't have more than one product or anything like that, but um, like fewer layers of bureaucracy. I think the hard thing is to make. I think the hard thing in business is to make things simple. There's always easier just to add a new feature, add a new process, add a new layer of bureaucracy, add this, add that, add a new regulation, uh, add a new product line. Uh, and I think it takes tremendous. I think it takes tremendous discipline to head towards to aim for simplicity, but also tremendous discipline to stay there once you find it. If that makes any sense. At the same time, you know, companies have to evolve, so you can't just kind of stay still.
Hmm.
Um, and to be fair, the world's a very complicated place, so it's not like you you can't just stay simplistic about it. But at the same time, you have to understand there's you know there's even though the world's very complicated, you know, the universe is infinitely complex. There are what I call simple universal human truths, which are never changing, and I think we have, you know, I think you have to be kind of aware of those. It's like
Okay.
to me, where things get corrupt first is in the language. I suppose that's probably the big thing.
Hmm.
Is when people say, well, like I said, when people stop saying we want to make the best ice cream in the world, they start saying, you know, we want to whatever maximize shareholder whatever maximize shareholder value and
Okay, so we're talking about buzzwords and mumbo
yeah
jumbo lingo.
yeah well when we start using real words and start using buzzwords I think because
Hmm.
we start sounding like a machine we start
Yes.
sounding like a machine I think
So in that sense, do you think that that idea? I think in my opinion, I think it's BS. But the idea of fake it till you make it, does that work?
it's been known to work. You mean I don't know the fake I think you do your best. I mean, fake it till you make it. I think we're all doing that, really. But I mean, so does it work? Yeah, sometimes. Does it
Oh,
fail?
cool, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have this mixed feelings about the whole idea, and I think, I mean, if you're faking it, I mean, it's going to be fake. But if you make it, then you're going to be
Yeah.
actually making it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, also, when if people start fetishizing the idea of authentic, I get a wee bit,
Hmm.
I get a wee bit suspicious because
Yeah,
I don't believe them.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Okay. So, Kim, do you have anything else before we start doing the wrap up? The wrap up today?
No, I don't. I think it's interesting insight as an artist. I'm very happy to see, Hugh, that you have followed the nature of yourself. Didn't the idea of, I think what you do has to do with advertising, but knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your passion, um,
yeah.
and going for that
Well,
to
thank you.
find meaning in what you do. I think that's I
Yeah.
applaud you for that, and I thank you for helping uh, so many people within so many organizations do the same. And I guess just your final words, if you have any for us.
No, let's see. Do I have any final words?
Where can we find you?
You can find me. You can find well, you can find us at the website, gapingvoid.com. And then see a background of where we're doing.
It's right here.
Yes.
Gapingvoid.com, right?
Yes, and you can kind of go visit us there. That should tell you all you need to know. We have a newsletter which you can sign up for. We do this daily email where we send out a new cartoon and some daily insights. Sign up for our newsletter and knock yourself out.
Perfect.
Do you happen to have a gallery at all of?
We sell the art on the website. So.
Okay.
It's all there. It's all there. Cool.
It's all there.
Yeah, okay, cool. I appreciate it so much. And then for the record, for those who are watching or will be watching, and everything, not only the website, but all the relevant information is going to be right there on DojoLIVEs as well. And of course, all the info pertaining to Hugh and of course his company, Gaping Void, and pretty much every way to get a hold of him. It's going to be in there, so keep an eye for that. The only thing left for me to do, Hugh, is finally thank you. I really appreciate your having been here with us today, and hopefully we're going to be in communication as,
all right. Okay, great.
As fellow artists, and let's hoping for the best in the future, in the near future for you and all your endeavors.
All right. Well,
Kim?
thank you. Right.
No, thank you very much, Hugh, and it's been fun.
Yeah, you too. All right.
All right, perfect. So next week, Carlos, we've got DojoLIVE lined up.
Yes, we do. Actually, okay. Yes. And right now, we're going to be featuring, let me tell you right now, we're going to have Christopher Mitchell with game design. So please keep an eye for that. And all you can see our calendar, it's right there on dojo.nearsoft.com in upcoming episodes. Just click there, and it'll take you to the future featured guests. So, perfect. Hugh, thank you so much again, right. And let's be in touch, okay?
All right, grand. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you very much. See you next week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.